Wednesday is a show made by Tim Burton, starred by Jenna Ortega, and broadcasted by Netflix. Okay, so at first I didn't pay attention to Wednesday, but then the show started gaining an awful lot of hype, so I said, sure, why not jump into the bandwagon and see what everyone's hyping? And I just want to say, I expected a lot more from Tim Burton. Okay, so let me explain it. I went to Wednesday with really high expectations. What would you expect from Tim Burton? He was a person who directed The Nightmare Before Christmas, one of my favorite movies ever, and Batman, Alice in Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. All of these movies are really well known and are really liked by most of the public. So you would expect that Tim Burton would have made a good show on a Wednesday. And let's just say that Wednesday is a really unique show. So, without further ado, let's begin. I wanna die. Okay, so if you haven't seen Wednesday, then Wednesday every once in a while gets a vision that shows her what she needs to do, or that unveils a secret Nevermore has, or that teaches her something about some of her ancestors like Goody Adams. Now this idea sounds like it's good on paper, but when you see how they implement it on the show, you realize they added the visions because they got stuck. They just got stuck. They didn't know how to advance the plot, so they just added a vision for Wednesday to do something.
Also, the character of Wednesday is terrible. I hate her so much. I've seen the Addams Family movies, and let me tell you, I expected so much more from Tim Burton and every single one of the writers. The people who wrote this show and wrote Wednesday should never be allowed to step on any Netflix studio ever again. Except the people who wrote B-Boy. I love that guy. I love Eugene so much. I want to hug him so much, and I love him with all of my love and joy. Except in one scene, I wanted to run him over with a car because he said, "This is the most girls I've ever had in a shed." Well, when he has Wednesday and Enid on the same shed, and then he says, "I've always had a thing for werewolf chicks." And then Wednesday rightfully tells Eugene he has less than 1% of chance with Enid. And then he's like, "Oh, I actually have a chance?" This bundle of lines are incredibly unexpected and really weird because at this point you already understand the character of Eugene. He's a shy b-boy who has never done anything wrong with his life, and he's a bit of an introvert, and he's a bit of an outcast in a school of outcasts. But when you get this bundle of lines, you just get this incredibly different view of the character, and you jump from being a shy b-boy to a disgusting pervert. After that misstep from the writers, I can say that I actually really liked Eugene. Everybody else can just go home. So now jumping from Eugene's writing to Wednesday's writing, I think that the writer's biggest flaw while writing Wednesday was that they didn't understand the character in the first place. Please let me explain. So in Wednesday, the Netflix show, Wednesday does not want to make friends, does not want to have a romance, and does not want to have any social thing with nobody. Well, in the Addams Family movies, that's actually really different. In the Addams Family too, Wednesday and her brother get sent to a camp, and in this camp, Wednesday meets a kid named Joel. Now, Joel treats Wednesday like an actual normal human being. And because Wednesday actually really likes Joel, she invites him to Uncle Fester's wedding that happens further in the movie. And even when Wednesday realizes that Uncle Fester's wife is actually a psychopath, Joel helps her escape, and Wednesday in the end ends up showing her gratitude by kissing him. It's actually a really fun movie in general. But you know that this would have never happened with Wednesday Addams from the Netflix show. In Wednesday's friendship with Enid is the one who's doing all of the work in the relationship, when in real life that's not actually what should happen. Both people should work on their relationship, and that's just not happening here, man. It's a toxic message, a really toxic message. What I also don't like about Wednesday's writing is that every single fucking time that Wednesday shows a pinch of compassion for anything in general, the character she is speaking to turns into an immediate friend. That's exactly what happened with her two love interests I don't want to remember, and Bianca. And you guys know it. None of these characters actually liked Wednesday, and then Wednesday just said, hey, I have a pinch of compassion, and now they all want it for some reason. I don't know. Okay, so before I start talking about the Wednesday dance, I want to talk about Nevermore. Let me explain. Nevermore is basically Monsters High. So what are the 4 groups at Nevermore? So there's werewolves, sirens, gorgons, and psychics. Okay, that's great. You know where there's werewolves, sirens, gorgons, and psychics? In Monster High. Werewolves, Claudine is a werewolf. Sirens, Laguna is a siren. Gorgons, Deuce is a gorgon. And psychic, I'm not sure, but they say here that Yoko is a psychic and she's a vampire, so sure. We can fit Draculaura there too. Even if it wasn't a Monsters High plagiar, even if Nevermore wasn't plagiarism, then still, a Monster Academy is such a burnt out cliche concept that it's astounding that they put this in a Tim Burton Netflix show. I want to kill myself right now. This man did some of the best movies I've ever seen, and then threw this into my face. I am so happy, you guys. So the Wednesday dance in general was an okay thing. I don't think that children pretending to be Wednesday is such a bad thing, since we all had that phase where we pretended to be a character that we actually weren't. It's a thing children do, let just children be children. Now, here comes my rating of the show. So for like a normal director that I have no idea who he is, I would give this show a 6 or a 7 out of 10. But this is Tim Burton we're talking about. I had really high expectations for this, so I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10 and continue with my life. I hope you all have a good day and goodbye.